Guys, help us! Quickly like the video, leave a comment, and watch it until the end, or we might fall straight into the lava.
Hello, everyone. Imagine you're stuck in an abandoned pizzeria where danger lurks at every turn. The main goal is to escape this creepy place. But be careful. The terrifying chef Papa Pizza is on your trail, cooking up his horrible dishes from human parts. Yes, you heard that right. This will be a true test of your agility and wits.
Welcome to our channel, friends. It's your sheriff's Labrador and my trusty partner Dobie, back with you again. Today we have something special. We are embarking on an exciting adventure in a Roblox mode called Escape from Papa Pizza's Pizzeria. Dobie, tell everyone what challenges they'll face.
Oh yes, guys. You'll face puzzles, traps, and the need to quickly run away from this crazy chef. But don't worry, Labrador and I will be there to help you every step of the way.
Ready for an incredible adventure? Then get comfortable, gather your courage, and let's see if we can escape Papa Pizza's Pizzeria together.
Oh no, Labrador, where's the light? It seems Papa Pizza is after us. Hide, Labrador. We need to act quickly and precisely because Papa Pizza is right on our heels.
Oh, guys, he's right behind us. Do you see those scary eyes and that creepy apron? Papa Pizza is cooking his horrible dishes and wants to add us to the menu. We need to find a way out urgently.
Exactly, Labrador. Listen carefully, guys. To save ourselves, we need to find a hole in the floor and jump into it. It's our only chance to escape this crazy chef. Let's move quickly. We don't have much time.
We did it, guys. We're safe for now, but stay alert. There are always new challenges ahead in this game.
Thanks for being with us, and until the next adventure. Whew, that was scary, but we made it. Subscribe to our channel, like our videos, and leave comments about what modes you'd like to see next. And now we are...
Yes, in the stinky sewers. Oh, the smell here is terrible. But we have no choice, guys. To get out of here, we need to climb through a hatch. The problem is, Papa Pizza is waiting for us up there.
Exactly, Labrador. The hatch leads directly to the bathroom, and Papa Pizza is already there, ready to catch us. But we have a plan. First, we need to find the hatch and climb up carefully. Then we'll try to outsmart him.
I see the hatch ahead. Be careful and watch your step to avoid traps. Dobie, do you think we can outsmart Papa Pizza?
Of course, Labrador. We need to be smarter and faster. Guys, as soon as we climb through the hatch, be ready to act quickly. We need to figure out how to bypass Papa Pizza and escape.
Let's try. Here's the hatch. I see it. Is everyone ready? Climb carefully and quietly. Just like that. We're almost there.
Oh no, he's here! Run, guys, faster! We need to find a way out of this bathroom and avoid Papa Pizza. Labrador, where to next?
We got through that scary web. But how did Papa Pizza turn into Papa Spider? Oh no, we stepped on a spike. We'll have to start over.
Now we're navigating through a spiked trap. We have to be very careful not to get caught in them.
Yes, Dobie, this is definitely not a place you want to get stuck. Watch your step, guys, and stay away from those menacing spikes. We can handle this together. Stay close.
After this trap, another challenge awaits us. We'll have to do parkour over old pipes that could collapse at any moment. Be careful, guys, and help each other out.
Once this was an excellent establishment where all the animals of the city came for the best pizza. But something happened, and now Papa Pizza has closed his pizzeria and become incredibly evil. They say his secret recipe was stolen, and since then, he lost all interest in cooking. We're here to find out what happened and try to escape this creepy place.
Yes, Labrador, you're right. This place is filled with an atmosphere of eerie abandonment. Papa Pizza was famous for his recipes, but after the theft, he completely changed. Now the pizzeria is not a place of joy, but a labyrinth full of dangers. We must be careful. We just passed by the kitchen, and there was a huge pile of dough, as if Papa Pizza was trying to recreate his recipes, but failed. He couldn't make that magical pizza anymore.
We've seen how the pizzas turned into real traps. Remember that giant pizza that fell from the ceiling right in front of us? That's definitely not the pizza we're used to seeing. Papa Pizza has set up many traps here to make sure no one can escape. At one point, it seemed to me that he was wandering these corridors himself, guarding his lost empire.
Yes, this pizzeria has turned into a real nightmare. We went through the kitchen, and there were pizzas with teeth. Something incredible. And those pizza boxes that open and try to grab you certainly don't add any confidence. Papa Pizza clearly doesn't want anyone to get out of here alive. His malice has soaked every corner of this place.
Now we've reached the main hall and everything is turned upside down. Broken tables and chairs, scattered ingredients, everything indicates that a real chaos happened here. Papa Pizza, losing his secret recipe, transformed from a kind chef into a real monster. We have only one option left. Find a way out of this madness and try to restore the pizzeria's former glory.
I agree, Labrador. We've overcome many challenges, but the most important one is ahead. Papa Pizza may be evil, but we've proven time and again that we can handle any difficulties. Let's keep moving to escape this place and perhaps help Papa Pizza find his former self.
Friends, I want to share a very secret story with you. It all started when we received several strange reports from the residents. They claimed they had seen a living pizza that moved on its own and seemed to have its own plans. At first, we thought it was a joke, but when the number of reports increased, it became clear that something unusual was going on. Dobie and I decided to check out these reports and went to the location where the most calls were coming from.
When we arrived at the scene, we were greeted by frightened residents pointing to Papa Pizza's pizzeria. It looked normal, but something was off. We cautiously entered and immediately noticed unusual tomato sauce marks on the floor. We followed these marks and ended up in a storeroom where we were in for a real surprise. There was a huge living pizza moving around and making strange noises. We realized it wasn't just alive, but also aggressive.
It turned out that this living pizza was the result of an experiment gone wrong by Papa Pizza. He had wanted to create the most delicious and unique pizza in the world by adding rare ingredients and a special magical seasoning to his recipe. But something went wrong, and the pizza gained its own consciousness and the ability to move. Moreover, it decided that it could become the ruler of the city and take control. Dobie and I realized we needed to act quickly to stop it.
We began to devise a plan to neutralize the living pizza. It was important not only to stop it, but also to ensure that something like this wouldn't happen again. We remembered that the magical seasoning could be neutralized by adding certain ingredients to the pizza. In search of these ingredients, we turned to our friends in the city, and soon we had everything we needed. The hardest part was getting close to the pizza to add the ingredients, but our teamwork and determination helped us succeed.
After several attempts, we managed to neutralize the living pizza. It lost its movement and became just an ordinary pizza. We returned it to Papa Pizza and explained what had happened. He was shocked and promised not to use magical ingredients again. The city regained its peace, and all the residents were grateful for our rescue.
This story was an important lesson for us about how experiments can be dangerous if you don't know when to stop. We realized that our job is not just to protect the city from external threats, but also to prevent internal problems. From now on, we will always be more careful with any unusual events, so that such incidents won't happen again.
We finally made it out of that pizzeria. These challenges were pure hell. Pizzas with trap flavors, trampolines throwing us into endless nightmares. But now, even more adventures await us. The forest. And it seems Papa Pizza hasn't forgotten about us. He's still on our tail. We need to find a way out through these dark trees, or we'll end up in his clutches forever.
This forest is really creepy, Labrador. It's as dark as a basement, and I can hear something rustling in the bushes. We've survived the pizzeria traps, but this will be even harder. The key is finding those trash bins with fences. I'm sure that's our only chance to escape. We need to climb, jump, and then we'll be able to get away from Papa Pizza.
Do you hear that? It's him! Papa Pizza won't back down. He's chasing us, and we need to move fast. Those trash bins with fences are our way out. But no matter how hard we try, this forest feels endless. We'll have to jump and hope that the next trash bin is the one that will lead us out.
No shadow or sound will stop us, Labrador. We've already gone through the horrors of the pizzeria, so this forest is just another obstacle on the road to freedom. The key is not to lose our heads. We're almost there. Let's jump over the fence and break free from this forest like real sheriffs.
Here it is, the spot. We're at the last trash bin. This is our chance, Dobie. We need to jump straight into the darkness, but I believe there's an exit there. Let's go.
We did it, Labrador. Just a few more steps, and we're safe. Papa Pizza didn't catch us, which means we're free again. See you soon, friends.
Here we are, friends. The pizzeria is behind us, and the forest too. We've gone through all these trials, and despite Papa Pizza trying to catch us, we broke free. I hope you enjoyed our adventure and didn't forget about us while we were running away from that giant pizza. Hello, friends. This is Sheriff Labrador and my faithful partner, Sheriff Dobie.
Hi, guys. Today we have something special for you. We are diving into the world of Roblox and playing the Escape Funnies Toy Shop mode.
In this mode, our main task is to escape from the creepy toy store, but it will be harder than it seems.
We'll have to hide and run from the terrifying toy that wants to trap us in its world.
Friends, hold on tight because it's going to be both fun and scary.
In this mode, we have 6 tough challenges, each testing our skills to the limit. We might even face the main toy boss at the end. It sounds frightening and exciting, but we can handle it because we are a team. We just turned on the lights to see better, and now we are heading into the ominous tunnel to find the exit.
This tunnel looks really spooky. I hope we don't encounter many traps.
The main thing is to be careful and stick together. Friends, keep your fingers crossed for us. A real challenge lies ahead.
What are these tracks? Some monster sneaked into the ventilation and left its tracks here. Maybe we could crawl through there and find the exit right away. But the vent is closed. We'll have to go through this creepy tunnel with broken pipes. Dobie, are you afraid to jump through this hot air?
No, I'm not afraid. Do you think I'm a coward? We've gone through many scary modes together. I'm almost used to them. By the way, it's better not to look down right now. Wait, do you hear that? Or is it just me?
I don't hear anything. We've encountered a real challenge. A scary maze, guys. This maze is not only complicated, but also full of dangers. A huge, terrifying toy will chase us if we don't find the exit in time. It will turn us into its toys.
This challenge will require our maximum mental and physical strength. The maze is huge, and we must be very careful to find the exit as quickly as possible. But don't worry, Labrador and I will guide you. And remember, friends,
this is just the first challenge in this mode. Ahead of us are many difficulties and puzzles. We must be ready for anything and never give up.
Hey, Labrador, this parkour is really tough. It seems we are facing the hardest challenges in this mode.
Indeed, Dobie, but this is just the beginning. We have a lot more ahead of us. By the way, do you remember what our friends said about the next challenge?
Oh, yes. They mentioned something about red and green colors. They said it's one of the most interesting challenges here. We need to be ready for anything.
I remember they said these colors are related to choosing a path or solving puzzles. We need to be alert and use our brains.
Exactly, Labrador. Let's leave the parkour behind and get ready for the next challenge. Remember, teamwork and attentiveness are our best allies here.
Absolutely, Dobie. Let's move forward. New challenges await us, and we must prove that sheriffs are not easily broken. Green light. Run, Labrador. Oh, wait, red light. Stop and don't move. Green light. Run, Dobie. Run. Just a bit more. You can do it. Oh no, stop, red light. No way out, or as they say. Or as...
Labrador, I almost lost because of you. Is something wrong with your reactions? The green light was on, and you only mentioned the red. Do you not know the difference between green and red?
Ha ha. Sorry, Dobie. I got a bit confused. Next time I'll pay more attention to the signals. Don't worry. I'll react faster in the next challenge.
We've passed the second challenge of this strange living toy, and now we just need to climb up and start the third challenge. Honestly, I thought it would be easier. This is the hardest challenge for us.
You're right. I hope you guys are subscribing to our channel and liking our efforts. These challenges are really tough, but the third challenge will be 100 times harder. I doubt our friend told the truth.
Hey, Labrador, look what's ahead. Our task is to climb this tower of toy blocks before this Titan toy robot catches and crushes us. Okay, Labrador, let's look at our options. These columns of blocks can be our cover. We can run between them to avoid the robot's grasp.
Great idea, Dobie. We can also use these toy blocks to slow down its movement. Throw them at its feet to create obstacles and gain valuable seconds.
Right, Labrador. And don't forget about teamwork. Coordinate our actions. One of us distracts the robot while the other circles the edge of the tower. This way, we can split its attention and gain more time.
Exactly, Dobie. Let's get to it. Let's show this robot who the real sheriffs are. Stick to the plan, and we'll definitely succeed.
Only 6 seconds left. I'm sure we can survive. If not, Labrador, you were the best friend I've ever had. Hooray! We managed to outsmart the Titan robot. Honestly, it was pretty dumb. Just a clumsy piece of metal destroying everything in its path.
I think we shouldn't have opened this door. It's really creepy here. It looks like the place where we need to find an exit and escape from the main character of this mode. Wish us luck, subscribers.
Hey, Labrador, look who's chasing us now. It's a living toy, and it's after us through this abandoned toy warehouse. We need to keep moving and not let it catch us, or we'll be its next victims.
Wow, Dobie, this is really terrifying. Let's use our knowledge and experience to get out of this situation. We must find a way to dodge it.
I see a machine ahead. Could it be an escape route? No, it doesn't look like it. There's lava down there. How is there lava in a toy store? Some monster must have created it while we were driving.
I wanted to tell you something yesterday. We received a call from the toy store owner. He said toys started disappearing, and all the surveillance cameras were turned off. This prompted Dobie and me to immediately head to the scene.
Yes, Labrador is right. When we arrived, the store seemed empty and abandoned, with toys and plush animals scattered everywhere.
We started the investigation and found Mr. and Mrs. Squirrel hiding in the far corner of the store. It turned out they were taking the toys, thinking they were for their children.
When we asked them why they didn't use the surveillance cameras, they said they didn't know how to turn them on and were just trying to do something nice for their kids.
In the end, we cleared things up and suggested they visit the store during business hours to buy toys. They apologized for the inconvenience and promised not to take anything without permission again.
So friends, sometimes mysterious disappearances aren't about dark forces. Sometimes it's just parents trying to make their kids' lives brighter.
It seems we've been through a lot, but now the fourth challenge awaits us, which turns out to be a real test.
Yes, Labrador, this challenge is like games such as Mario. We need to run and jump, avoiding traps and collecting everything that can help us stop the giant head of this living toy that is trying to catch and eat us.
Now Dobie and I found ourselves in a world reminiscent of classic Mario in 2D. We started on a platform surrounded by green pipes and brick blocks, but the real excitement was ahead. We were being chased by a giant toy head. We had to jump and collect bombs to slow it down.
Exactly, Labrador. These platform jumps are quite the challenge. It feels like being a puppy again, trying to reach high shelves, and those bombs are a real treasure. Throw one, and the head slows down, giving us a chance to run further. Great job, Labrador. We're almost at the finish, friends. And who would have thought that simply escaping from a toy head could be so exciting?
Here we are in the ventilation system, friends, or almost there. We've already made it halfway, and honestly, I'm a little worried. These pipes look like they haven't been cleaned in ages, and the air here, it's not the freshest. But we can't stop now. We need to keep going to get out of this toy store. Who would have thought that toys could be so dangerous?
You're right, Labrador. And these rusty pipes? It smells like an old basement, but it seems like we're no strangers to tough tasks. These old abandoned toys scattered through the sewers are staring at us with their empty eyes. They're definitely not happy to see us, so we need to be careful and stay alert.
We made it through that sewer, and I have no idea how we managed to escape. The toys tried to grab us. Oh, Dobie, look, it's game number 5.
It kind of reminds me of some game, or maybe it's just me. What do you think, guys? Let us know in the comments.
What a challenge. Dobie and I are back in the toy store, and now we have to jump on platforms that are about to start falling. As soon as they turn red, we need to get off, or we're in trouble. Honestly, I'm a bit nervous because these platforms are so slippery that you barely have time to react.
Yeah, Labrador, these platforms are a real headache. You barely land on one before it starts glowing red. It feels like a game of cat and mouse. You almost made it, but it's about to disappear beneath your feet. Of course, we're sheriffs, but here we really need to be extra careful. I even joked a few times that if I fall, I'll land on a soft toy. Whew, we barely made it through this level. What's next? Is this the end?
This toy train looks extremely suspicious. I doubt the exit is here, but we have no other choice. Settle in, Dobie. We're in for a long ride.
Let's go, Sheriff Labrador. I hope we don't encounter any screamers along the way and everything goes smoothly. Oh no, it was a trap.
What do we do now? We're falling straight down. We're going to crash, Sheriff Labrador.
Are you here? I see the final arena.
Yes, I'm here. It looks like this is the final challenge. Oh, wait. It's that same living toy in a robo-suit. How do we deal with it, guys? We're facing the main boss, a toy robot threatening us with lasers and a giant metal structure.
Yes, Labrador. This robot means business. It's firing all its weapons and trying to crush us with its huge feet.
But we won't give up. To defeat this boss, we need to aim for its weak spot, the legs. We have rocket launchers, and we need to hit them directly.
Let's act quickly and in sync. Labrador, you take the rocket launcher on the right. I'll take the left. Let's focus fire on its legs while we have the chance. Watch how it opens the vents on its legs.
Now's our chance to attack. Launch the rockets.
Great shot, Labrador. We damaged its leg. Just a bit more and we'll have it.
The boss is getting more aggressive. Watch out. Dodge the lasers and keep attacking its legs.
Another rocket hit the mark. The leg is starting to smoke. We're almost there.
We're on the home stretch. We'll defeat this evil robot. Hooray! We managed to destroy it. They didn't call me Diamond Eye at the Sheriff Academy for nothing. I'm a really good shot. Now we just need to find the way out of here, guys.
You're all the best. You helped us defeat this toy robot. I hope we really won and this isn't another trap.
Hello, friends. It's me, Sheriff Labrador, and today we have a special episode for you.
Hi, everyone. Yes, Sheriff Labrador, I'm already excited.
Together with my loyal partner, Sheriff Dobie, we're going to tell you about the most beautiful and challenging mode in Roblox, Escape the Carnival of Horrors Obby. This mode is simply incredible.
You find yourself in a mysterious and eerie carnival, full of dangers and unexpected twists.
Let's start from the beginning. As soon as you enter the game, you're greeted by a creepy carnival, dimly lit by lanterns. Dangerous traps and evil ghost clowns patrolling the area are scattered everywhere. Your task is to avoid them at all costs.
Exactly. Do you see that red balloon? We need to follow it. In the first stage, you have to be very careful and quick to avoid getting caught by the clowns. I recommend watching your steps closely to avoid traps.
Yes, and that's just the beginning. This clown world is huge, and I think we'll be fighting this clown today. By the way, do you know the name of this clown? Write it in the comments, and whoever guesses correctly will get a heart from us on their comment.
But inside, it's full of dangerous mechanisms. You must be very attentive and keep moving to avoid getting caught in the traps.
We need to get through these rusty pipes. The main thing is not to touch the fire or fall down. We can't forget about the final part, escaping through the horror ride. This is the most challenging part, where you'll have to use all your skills and agility to reach the exit.
Friends, this mode is truly amazing. It's not only difficult, but incredibly beautiful. We are sure you'll love it. Right now, we are in the heart of the Carnival of Horrors, in the clown's house. Just look at this grim place. We need to parkour through old, smelly pipes with a bottomless pit below us.
Yes, it's really scary. The smelly pipes are not only a test of our agility, but also a real endurance test. The smell is disgusting, but we need to focus and move forward.
Watch your step, Sheriff Labrador. If we slip, we'll fall into that bottomless pit. We must be very careful and watch each step. Let's move slowly and confidently.
Good plan, Sheriff Dobie. Do you see that narrow pipe ahead? We need to jump onto it and then move along the wall. The main thing is not to rush and keep our balance.
Great, I'm ready. Let's go, Labrador. You first. I'll cover you. This is probably one of the most difficult stages in this mode, but we'll manage, right?
Of course, Dobie. We're a team. All right, one jump, then another. Carefully, done. Now it's your turn, Dobie.
Got it. I'm coming. One jump, another. Yes, I did it. Now we need to walk along this narrow pipe. It's slippery, so hold on tight.
Of course, Dobie. We're a team. All right, one jump, then another. Carefully, done. Now it's your turn, Dobie.
Yes, it's a real nightmare. These saws spin so fast that one mistake can cost us our lives. We need to move very carefully and precisely calculate our actions.
Look, Dobie. The saws move in a specific pattern. If you watch closely, you can catch the moment when they stop for a split second. That's when we need to dash through.
I made it too. Can you see me? Wow! Look at this beautiful amusement park. Ferris wheel, roller coasters, and much more.
Now we're escaping from the scariest clown in this carnival. He wants to turn us into his dolls, and we urgently need to find a way to escape. Look ahead. There's a Ferris wheel. It's our chance to get to the top.
The clown is still after us. Let's go, Labrador. We can do this.
Yes, we're at the top. What a view! You can see the whole carnival from here. The clown won't catch us here.
Whew, that was intense. But we did it, Labrador. Now we're safe.
Guys, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give us likes. It's the best gift you can give us. Our animal town has always been a peaceful place, but recently we were shaken by a story connected to the amusement park. The park has always been a popular spot for family outings. However, with the arrival of a new clown, strange incidents began happening. He appeared friendly, but there was always something unusual around him. The townspeople began to complain about odd feelings and missing items. Dobie and I decided to get to the bottom of this.
From the very beginning, we noticed that the clown attracted children, but the parents looked at him with concern. we started the investigation trying to understand what was going on. In the park, we discovered strange traces and heard stories about how the clown was leading children in unknown directions. In the evening, the park closed, but some children didn't return home. Labrador and I decided to stay in the park after closing time to see what was happening.
When it got dark, the park turned into a place of shadows and suspicious sounds. We hid behind carousels and rides, observing what was going on. Soon, we saw the clown leading a group of children. They seemed hypnotized, following him without a single word. We cautiously followed them until they reached an old, abandoned tent that hadn't been used in a long time.
The tent was locked, but somehow the clown managed to open it. We carefully approached, trying not to give ourselves away. When we peeked inside, we saw a stage with bright lights. The clown started his performance, but it wasn't an ordinary show. He used strange tricks and magical illusions that seemed to mesmerize the children. We realized that the clown was using some dark magic to control them.
We decided to act quickly. I distracted the clown, pretending I wanted to see the show up close, while Dobie took the children out of the tent. The clown, noticing our presence, became angry. His face twisted into a malicious grimace, and he tried to stop us. But we were already prepared and knew what to do. We used flashlights to blind him and escorted the children to the park's exit.
We led the children to a safe place and called for backup. The clown tried to escape, but he didn't get far. When our colleagues arrived, we arrested him and started the investigation. It turned out that this clown was a former magician who had lost his job and decided to use his skills for sinister purposes. Thanks to our efforts, the park became a safe place for family outings again. Labrador and I returned to the station, knowing that we had done an important job. We told the townspeople this story so they would know that even in the safest place, dangers can be hiding. But together, we can overcome any difficulties and protect our town.
Recently, a new clown appeared in our town. He was so funny that he immediately became popular. Everywhere he went, people laughed until they cried. He performed street shows, visited people's homes, and entertained both children and adults. Everything seemed fine, but something wasn't right. Dobie and I started noticing that after the clown's visits, people's belongings went missing. At first, it was small things, but each day the number of disappearances grew. We decided to take control of the situation and figure out what was happening.
We began to keep an eye on this clown, but he was so sneaky that none of our observers could catch him in the act. He would go into homes, show his tricks, and everyone seemed to forget what had happened. But as soon as the clown left, valuable items were always missing, from watches to jewelry. Sheriff Labrador suggested we find out what was going on, and soon we were in the middle of an investigation. We decided to set up a trap.
One night, Dobie and I decided to keep an eye on the clown in person. We put on masks and went into one of the houses where the clown frequently showed up. When he arrived, we began to watch his actions closely. At first, everything went as usual. He entertained everyone with his jokes and tricks. But suddenly, during one of his tricks, we noticed his hand quickly slip behind his back and disappear into the host's pocket.
That was the moment of truth. Labrador and I realized that this wasn't just a coincidence. We started watching his hands, and soon we discovered that he was really stealing things while everyone was laughing or distracted by his show. He skillfully used his tricks to secretly take small valuables. We decided to catch him red-handed.
When the clown left, we immediately went to the house to check what had gone missing. And, as strange as it seemed, valuable items had indeed disappeared. We gathered our strength and decided to act. The next day, we met with the clown again, but this time, he didn't know we were preparing to expose him. When he started his new trick, we quietly surrounded him.
The clown tried to avoid us, but we already knew everything. He realized his trick had been uncovered and tried to escape. But Labrador was faster. We caught him, and it turned out that this clown was a master of pickpocketing, using his popularity to steal from trusting townspeople. After we arrested him, it was revealed that he was a thief, hiding behind the mask of a cheerful clown. But now, thanks to us, he would no longer be able to cause trouble in our town.
That's how we exposed this funny clown. He thought he could trick us, but it didn't work out that way. This time, the jokes were over, and now all the town's residents know that we don't joke with anyone who tries to deceive them. Dobie and I are back to patrolling, knowing that even the most amusing incidents can hide dangerous secrets.
When we returned to the station, We told the townspeople how important it is to stay vigilant, even when it seems like everything around is 100% safe. The clown thought his tricks would go on forever, but it turned out differently. Labrador and I are proud that we acted in time, and now the townspeople can laugh again without fear.
Officer Dobie and I are on the roller coaster, and right before us stands a massive carnival city. We're not just here for fun. We're keeping everything under control. But right in front of us, there's that terrifying clown.
Well, friends, the time has come to say goodbye. We hope you enjoyed riding with us on these roller coasters, following our adventures, and of course, staying alert. Until next time, and may your carnivals always be filled with joy, not threats.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for being with us. Don't forget to keep an eye on your surroundings, because even in the brightest places, mysteries can be hiding. The day started peacefully. Dobie and I were sipping our morning coffee at the station, getting ready for our usual patrol. The streets were quiet, the citizens were going about their daily routines, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. But everything changed when the phone rang. On the other end, we heard the trembling voice of a kindergarten teacher from Happy Tales Daycare. She was gasping in terror, almost screaming. The daycare has been taken over. A giant dinosaur broke through the entrance, roaring and not letting the children out. Then, the call was abruptly cut off. Dobie and I exchanged glances. No questions asked. We jumped into our patrol car and sped off toward the daycare at full speed.
On the way there, I tried to make sense of what I had just heard. A dinosaur? Was this some kind of joke? But the fear in the teacher's voice was too real for it to be a prank. When we arrived, all doubt disappeared. The entrance door was smashed, part of the fence was crushed, and scattered toys, torn books, and children's backpacks littered the ground. And most importantly, standing right in front of the building was a massive green dinosaur. Its skin glistened under the sun, and its red eyes gleamed menacingly. It swayed its tail as if listening to the sounds around it. From inside the daycare, we could hear the terrified cries of children. The situation was critical.
The first thing we did was assess the area. Behind the playground slide, a small group of children were huddled together, trembling. They needed to be evacuated immediately. The dinosaur noticed us and let out a deafening roar. The ground trembled beneath our feet. It stepped forward, scraping the ground with its massive claws. I took a step forward, drawing its attention. Meanwhile, Dobie started sneaking around from the other side. Our plan was simple. One distracts, the other gets inside. The dinosaur didn't give me a break. It suddenly lunged at me, but I jumped back just in time. We had to move fast.
While Labrador kept the monster occupied, I sneaked around to the back entrance. The door was locked, but through the window, I saw the teachers and children huddled in a corner. I knocked gently, signaling that I was here to help. One of the teachers opened the door, and I saw the little ones clutching each other, whimpering in fear. They told me that the dinosaur had appeared out of nowhere. It had simply smashed through the fence and started roaring, trapping everyone inside. I gestured for them to stay quiet. We needed to get them out unnoticed.
Meanwhile, I continued dodging the dinosaur's attacks. Then, I noticed something strange. A panel with buttons was glinting on its neck. This dinosaur was mechanical. Someone was controlling it. But who? And why? I didn't have time to think. I had to keep it away from the building while Dobie evacuated the children. I banged loudly on a metal trash can, drawing the dinosaur's attention. It turned its head toward me, growled, and took a step forward.
I led the children out in small groups. We moved quietly to avoid drawing the monster's attention. The teachers helped, keeping the kids calm. Once the last child was outside, we pressed against the wall, watching Labrador. He was skillfully dodging the dinosaur, but he couldn't keep it up forever. Then I noticed a huge water tank on the roof. If we could lure the dinosaur underneath it, we might be able to disable it. I signaled to Labrador. We always understood each other without words.
I immediately understood his idea. We had to lure the dinosaur directly under the tank. I took a few steps back, leading the monster toward me. As expected, it followed, roaring furiously. When it was right under the tank, Dobie gave me the final signal. At the last moment, I leaped out of the way.
I pulled the lever, and a powerful stream of water came crashing down on the dinosaur. It started jerking and sparking. We held our breath. A few seconds later, it froze, then slowly collapsed onto its side. Silence. Everyone stared at the lifeless monster. The children started clapping. The teachers sighed in relief. We did it!
As we stepped closer, I noticed a strange emblem on the dinosaur's body. It was the logo of an old laboratory that had been shut down years ago. So someone was still working on its projects. The real question was, why build a mechanical dinosaur? And why attack a daycare? We had saved the children, but we knew this was just the beginning. A new mystery had just begun, and I knew we would solve it.
This day was full of surprises. We defeated a mechanical dinosaur, saved the children, but there were too many unanswered questions. Who built this monster? Why target a daycare? And would there be another attack? But for now, our job was done. The teachers and children were safe, and Labrador and I knew if our city was ever threatened again, we would be ready.
The day started as usual. Coffee, reports, and post-inspections. Everything was calm in the city of animals. Dobie and I were about to start our morning patrol when a raccoon named Timmy burst into the station. He looked frightened, his eyes darting around, and he was out of breath. He told us that his friend, the fox Rick, had disappeared. The last time anyone saw him, he was playing a new game, Poppy Playtime 4. Timmy swore he had seen Rick literally vanish into the screen. At first, we thought it was a joke or just childish fears, but then Timmy showed us his tablet. The game's loading screen was still glowing, and there, in the reflection of a store window inside the factory, was a silhouette. It looked just like Rick. I exchanged glances with Dobie. This all seemed impossible, but we couldn't ignore it. If the game was somehow pulling players inside, we needed to figure out why. We sat down in front of the screen. The title flickered, and then the words appeared. Welcome to the Playtime Toy Factory. Enter your names to join. I typed in my name. Dobie did the same. The moment we pressed enter, the screen flashed, and darkness swallowed us.
When I opened my eyes, dim lighting surrounded us. We stood in a long corridor. Flickering lamps cast strange shadows on the walls. The air was stale, filled with dust and a strangely sweet scent, like old gummy candy. Labrador looked around. A poster on the wall read, "Welcome to Playtime Factory. Keep smiling." Below it stood a broken toy, a giant plush bear with an eerily wide grin. In the distance, we heard children's laughter. It was quiet, but it sent chills down my spine. We moved forward. The factory looked abandoned. Scattered toy parts lay on the floor, and the silence was only interrupted by the occasional creak of metal. Then we heard whispering.
Someone was there. I raised my paw, signaling Dobie to stay quiet. We carefully peeked around the corner. In the darkness, trembling, was Rick the fox. His fur was ruffled, and his wide eyes darted nervously. He said he didn't know how he got here. One moment he was just playing the game, and the next he was trapped inside. Since then, he had been hiding because they were coming for him. I wanted to ask who they were, but before I could, a loud crash echoed through the hall.
Dust rained from above. We turned sharply. At the end of the corridor, something moved in the shadows. A tall figure with long arms and glowing eyes stood motionless, watching us. It could attack at any moment. I grabbed Rick's paw and pulled him with me. We had to run. We sprinted forward, jumping over debris and broken crates. Heavy footsteps thundered behind us. The creature was chasing us.
We darted into a security room and slammed the door shut behind us. Inside, dozens of monitors displayed different parts of the factory. On one of them, I saw the figure wandering the halls. It tilted its head as if sniffing the air. Rick told us this wasn't the only monster. The factory belonged to a strange entity that played with its visitors like they were toys. The only way out was to reach the main terminal and shut down the system.
We navigated through the toy assembly line where mechanical arms tried to grab our tails. Then we crossed a storage room filled with eerie stuffed animals that seemed to shift positions when we weren't looking. Finally, we reached the terminal, but there was a problem. A keypad locked the system. Rick remembered seeing a code somewhere, but he couldn't recall where. Then the lights began to flicker.
A scraping sound echoed behind us. We turned and saw it. A towering figure resembling a toy clown stepped out of the shadows. Its head tilted from side to side, and a wide, unsettling grin was frozen on its face. I told Dobie to find the code while I stepped forward, trying to distract the monster.
I frantically searched, tossing papers and boxes aside. The monster lunged at Labrador, its long arms reaching out. Then I saw it, numbers scrawled on the wall. The first 4 digits are 1987. I ran to the terminal.
The creature roared and charged. I barely managed to dodge. Dobie typed the code. First digit, second, third. The monster was almost upon us.
On the way there, I tried to make sense of what I had just heard. A dinosaur? Was this some kind of joke? But the fear in the teacher's voice was too real for it to be a prank. When we arrived,
The day started peacefully. Dobie and I were sipping our morning coffee at the station, getting ready for our usual patrol. The streets were quiet. The citizens were going about their daily routines, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. But everything changed when the phone rang. On the other end, we heard the trembling voice of a kindergarten teacher from Happy Tales Daycare. She was gasping in terror, almost screaming. The daycare has been taken over. A giant dinosaur broke through the entrance, roaring and not letting the children out. Then, the call was abruptly cut off. Dobie and I exchanged glances. No questions asked. We jumped into our patrol car and sped off toward the daycare. Friends, watch this video till the end or else she will eat us. Oh no! Hello friends, today we have a new exciting adventure. Dobie and I found ourselves in the game Roblox in the Escape the Girls Prison mode. But don't be fooled by the name. This place is not as cute as it sounds. The prison is scary, full of traps and challenges, and we were put in its most dangerous part.
Hi, everyone! Yes, the prison here is far from girly. We quickly realized that this was going to be a tough challenge. Everyone knows we always get out of the most difficult situations, and that's why we were sent here. But even under such conditions, we found a way to start our escape. In the cake that was sent to us, there was a shovel. We used it to dig through the floor, and that's when all the trials and parkour started.
Yes, Dobie, it was unexpected to find a shovel in the cake, but that didn't stop us. As soon as we got out of the cell, we found ourselves in a network of corridors and rooms full of traps. Everything around looked intimidating. Gloomy walls, dark corners, and the constant feeling that we were being watched.
Exactly, Labrador. The entire interior of this prison leaves no doubt. They want to keep us here at any cost. We've seen a lot of scary places, but this is probably one of the creepiest. We went through several narrow tunnels and dark corridors, but we never doubted our success. We're already used to such trials.
As we progressed, we had to face various obstacles, but each time we found a way to overcome them. It was important to stay calm and keep our wits about us. We trusted each other and knew that together we could handle any difficulties.
Our determination and faith in each other are what keep us moving forward. We've proven time and time again that we can get out of any situation. This time will be no exception. In the prison, we faced not only physical but also psychological challenges. The constant pressure and fear were our companions, but we didn't give up.
With each step, we got closer to freedom. Going through all these trials, we learned to understand each other better and work as a team. It was a real test of our friendship and cooperation.
That's right, Labrador. Now we know that we can handle any difficulty if we stick together. We'll have to fight all the prison guards. If anyone thinks girls are weak, watch this video and you'll never think that again.
As you already know, this prison was specifically designed for girls. It was built to contain those who, in the eyes of its creators, pose a particular danger due to their skills or abilities. Despite its name, the girls' prison has become a place for those who have repeatedly proven their ability to escape from any traps and find a way out of the most difficult situations.
Exactly. But why are Labrador and I here? The fact is, our successes in escaping various prisons have become known throughout Roblox. We have become legends, and our adversaries decided to test us in the most extreme conditions. They wanted to ensure that even in this terrifying prison, created with maximum caution and thoughtfulness, we wouldn't be able to find a way out.
Of course, it wasn't easy for us. We understood that here we would face the most challenging trials they could come up with. Every corner, every door, and every corridor was filled with traps and obstacles. They hoped that in such a place, we wouldn't be able to use our skills and would be trapped forever.
But they underestimated our determination and teamwork. Together, we are a force capable of overcoming any barriers. We knew we couldn't let down those who believe in us and follow our adventures. And although this prison was built for girls, It couldn't break our spirit and our will to be free. Subscribe, friends, and we will definitely get out of here. Or will we? Find out at the end of the video.
Our animal city never stops surprising us. But what happened this time exceeded all our expectations. What started as an ordinary day turned into something completely bizarre. I woke up and discovered that the entire city had changed. And not just changed, every single resident had suddenly turned into a girl. Yes, that's right. Every animal, whether it was a lion, a rabbit, or even a bear, suddenly became female.
At first, I thought it was a dream or some cruel prank, but when I stepped outside, I saw that the changes had affected everyone. Not only the animals, but I myself had turned into a woman. We needed to figure out what had happened immediately. Labrador and I started an investigation right away. We first interviewed witnesses and learned that the transformation happened in just a matter of minutes.
Yes, I remember talking to Professor Owl, who said that this could only have happened due to a powerful magical influence or an unknown chemical substance. We went to the professor's lab to investigate possible causes. He was one of the few who remained calm in such a situation.
In the lab, we conducted numerous tests. The professor checked the air, water, and even food for any anomalies, but everything seemed normal. Then, the professor suggested we examine the magical artifacts stored in the city's museum. There were many ancient and powerful items there that could have had such an effect.
When we arrived at the museum, we discovered that one of the artifacts was missing. It was an ancient amulet with the ability to change one's gender. We immediately began searching for signs of theft. On the museum floor, we found a few drops of unknown liquid and paw prints leading into the forest.
We followed the trail, and it led us to an old abandoned house on the edge of the forest. There, we found a group of unknown creatures who, as it turned out, had stolen the amulet. They had used it for their own purposes, but lost control of its power, which caused the mass transformation in the city.
After long negotiations and explanations, we convinced them to return the amulet and help us restore the original order. With their help and the professor's knowledge, we devised a plan to reverse the spell. The amulet had to be activated at a specific time under the light of a full moon.
On the appointed day, we gathered all the city residents in the main square. The professor activated the amulet, and under the light of the full moon, the spell began to work. Gradually, everyone started to return to their original forms. It was an amazing sight.
After everyone had returned to their original forms, we discussed what had happened for a long time. The professor suggested that the amulet be kept in a more secure place to prevent such an incident from happening again. This event taught us a lot and brought the city's residents closer together.
So, dear subscribers, sometimes the most unexpected events can bring us all together and teach us to appreciate what we have. We're grateful to everyone who helped us in this situation, and we hope there won't be any more surprises like this.
Dear subscribers, Dobie and I have an incredible story for you. You know, in our animal city, something unusual always happens. But what happened this time even left Dobie and me stunned. At one point, the boys in our city suddenly started acting strangely. We noticed they became overly mischievous, disobedient, and began causing problems for the entire community. Everyone tried to handle the situation, but nothing seemed to work. In the end, a decision was made. All the boys needed to be gathered and locked up in a specially built prison.
Labrador and I were on duty when we received the order from the city's elders. All the boys had to be sent to prison, and only girls would guard them. The boys had become a real threat. They wouldn't listen to their elders, their parents, and even started small rebellions.
So, Dobie and I were given the task of ensuring the safe transport of all the boys to the prison. At that time, we didn't know exactly how everything would unfold. But, as always, we had to act quickly and efficiently. We knew the girls would handle it. They were smart, strong, and determined.
When we arrived at the prison, the situation there was tense. The boys, as you can imagine, weren't going to surrender without a fight. They were confident they could escape or somehow defeat the girls. But the girls guarding the prison gave them no chance. Labrador and I closely monitored the situation, but trusted the girls in their responsibility.
At first, of course, the boys resisted. They didn't want to follow the rules and even tried to stage small protests. But the girls, as true leaders, showed their willpower and wisdom. They didn't resort to violence, but used their communication skills and patience. Over time, The boys began to realize that in order to get out of prison, they had to change their behavior.
Yes, exactly. At one point, when we were observing their interactions, it became clear that the very fact that the boys were in prison played a big role. Being in such an unusual position, they realized that only by working together could they achieve freedom. The girls taught them the importance of respecting one another and cooperating, as well as understanding how crucial it was to follow the rules for the common good. This was a real turning point in the history of our city. After a few weeks, we saw how the boys began to change. They started listening, helping each other, and acting as a team. Dobie and I often visited the prison to make sure everything was going according to plan. When we finally concluded that the boys had learned their lesson, we made the decision to release them. The girls were proud of their work, and the boys were grateful for the chance to change.
Yes, and with that we wrap up our adventure. If it weren't for your comments and likes, it would have been much harder for us. But it's your words that inspired us to keep going and not give up, no matter what. Thank you for your support.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, leave likes, and follow our new adventures. We promise that even more exciting and challenging trials await us ahead. So, stay with us.
See you soon, friends. Don't miss our next videos. They'll be even more thrilling. The day started peacefully. Dobie and I were sipping our morning coffee at the station, getting ready for our usual patrol. The streets were quiet. The citizens were going about their daily routines, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. But everything changed when the phone rang. On the other end, we heard the trembling voice of a kindergarten teacher from Happy Tales Daycare. She was gasping in terror, almost screaming. The daycare has been taken over. A giant dinosaur broke through the entrance, roaring and not letting the children out. Then, the call was abruptly cut off. Dobie and I exchanged glances. No questions asked. We jumped into our patrol car and sped off toward the daycare at full speed.
On the way there, I tried to make sense of what I had just heard. A dinosaur? Was this some kind of joke? But the fear in the teacher's voice was too real for it to be a prank. When we arrived, all doubt disappeared. The entrance door was smashed, part of the fence was crushed, and scattered toys, torn books, and children's backpacks littered the ground. And most importantly, standing right in front of the building was a massive green dinosaur. Its skin glistened under the sun, and its red eyes gleamed menacingly. It swayed its tail as if listening to the sounds around it. From inside the daycare, we could hear the terrified cries of children. The situation was critical.
The first thing we did was assess the area. Behind the playground slide, a small group of children were huddled together, trembling. They needed to be evacuated immediately. The dinosaur noticed us and let out a deafening roar. The ground trembled beneath our feet. It stepped forward, scraping the ground with its massive claws. I took a step forward, drawing its attention. Meanwhile, Dobie started sneaking around from the other side. Our plan was simple. One distracts, the other gets inside. The dinosaur didn't give me a break. It suddenly lunged at me, but I jumped back just in time. We had to move fast.
While Labrador kept the monster occupied, I sneaked around to the back entrance. The door was locked, but through the window, I saw the teachers and children huddled in a corner. I knocked gently, signaling that I was here to help. One of the teachers opened the door, and I saw the little ones clutching each other, whimpering in fear. They told me that the dinosaur had appeared out of nowhere. It had simply smashed through the fence and started roaring, trapping everyone inside. I gestured for them to stay quiet. We needed to get them out unnoticed.
Meanwhile, I continued dodging the dinosaur's attacks. Then, I noticed something strange. A panel with buttons was glinting on its neck. This dinosaur was mechanical. Someone was controlling it. But who? And why? I didn't have time to think. I had to keep it away from the building while Dobie evacuated the children. I banged loudly on a metal trash can, drawing the dinosaur's attention. It turned its head toward me, growled, and took a step forward.
I led the children out in small groups. We moved quietly to avoid drawing the monster's attention. The teachers helped, keeping the kids calm. Once the last child was outside, we pressed against the wall, watching Labrador. He was skillfully dodging the dinosaur, but he couldn't keep it up forever. Then I noticed a huge water tank on the roof. If we could lure the dinosaur underneath it, we might be able to disable it. I signaled to Labrador. We always understood each other without words.
I immediately understood his idea. We had to lure the dinosaur directly under the tank. I took a few steps back, leading the monster toward me. As expected, it followed, roaring furiously. When it was right under the tank, Dobie gave me the final signal. At the last moment, I leaped out of the way.
I pulled the lever, and a powerful stream of water came crashing down on the dinosaur. It started jerking and sparking. We held our breath. A few seconds later, it froze, then slowly collapsed onto its side. Silence. Everyone stared at the lifeless monster. The children started clapping. The teachers sighed in relief. We did it!
As we stepped closer, I noticed a strange emblem on the dinosaur's body. It was the logo of an old laboratory that had been shut down years ago. So someone was still working on its projects. The real question was, why build a mechanical dinosaur? And why attack a daycare? We had saved the children, but we knew this was just the beginning. A new mystery had just begun, and I knew we would solve it.
This day was full of surprises. We defeated a mechanical dinosaur, saved the children, but there were too many unanswered questions. Who built this monster? Why target a daycare? And would there be another attack? But for now, our job was done. The teachers and children were safe, and Labrador and I knew if our city was ever threatened again, we would be ready.
The day started as usual. Coffee, reports, and post-inspections. Everything was calm in the city of animals. Dobie and I were about to start our morning patrol when a raccoon named Timmy burst into the station. He looked frightened, his eyes darting around, and he was out of breath. He told us that his friend, the fox Rick, had disappeared. The last time anyone saw him, he was playing a new game, Poppy Playtime 4. Timmy swore he had seen Rick literally vanish into the screen. At first, we thought it was a joke or just childish fears, but then Timmy showed us his tablet. The game's loading screen was still glowing, and there, in the reflection of a store window inside the factory, was a silhouette. It looked just like Rick. I exchanged glances with Dobie. This all seemed impossible, but we couldn't ignore it. If the game was somehow pulling players inside, we needed to figure out why. We sat down in front of the screen. The title flickered, and then the words appeared. Welcome to the Playtime Toy Factory. Enter your names to join. I typed in my name. Dobie did the same. The moment we pressed enter, the screen flashed, and darkness swallowed us.
When I opened my eyes, dim lighting surrounded us. We stood in a long corridor. Flickering lamps cast strange shadows on the walls. The air was stale, filled with dust and a strangely sweet scent, like old gummy candy. Labrador looked around. A poster on the wall read, "Welcome to Playtime Factory. Keep smiling." Below it stood a broken toy, a giant plush bear with an eerily wide grin. In the distance, we heard children's laughter. It was quiet, but it sent chills down my spine. We moved forward. The factory looked abandoned. Scattered toy parts lay on the floor, and the silence was only interrupted by the occasional creak of metal. Then we heard whispering.
Someone was there. I raised my paw, signaling Dobie to stay quiet. We carefully peeked around the corner. In the darkness, trembling, was Rick the fox. His fur was ruffled, and his wide eyes darted nervously. He said he didn't know how he got here. One moment he was just playing the game, and the next he was trapped inside. Since then, he had been hiding because they were coming for him. I wanted to ask who they were, but before I could, a loud crash echoed through the hall.
Dust rained from above. We turned sharply. At the end of the corridor, something moved in the shadows. A tall figure with long arms and glowing eyes stood motionless, watching us. It could attack at any moment. I grabbed Rick's paw and pulled him with me. We had to run. We sprinted forward, jumping over debris and broken crates. Heavy footsteps thundered behind us. The creature was chasing us.
We darted into a security room and slammed the door shut behind us. Inside, dozens of monitors displayed different parts of the factory. On one of them, I saw the figure wandering the halls. It tilted its head as if sniffing the air. Rick told us this wasn't the only monster. The factory belonged to a strange entity that played with its visitors like they were toys. The only way out was to reach the main terminal and shut down the system.
We navigated through the toy assembly line where mechanical arms tried to grab our tails. Then we crossed a storage room filled with eerie stuffed animals that seemed to shift positions when we weren't looking. Finally, we reached the terminal, but there was a problem. A keypad locked the system. Rick remembered seeing a code somewhere, but he couldn't recall where. Then the lights began to flicker.
A scraping sound echoed behind us. We turned and saw it. A towering figure resembling a toy clown stepped out of the shadows. Its head tilted from side to side, and a wide, unsettling grin was frozen on its face. I told Dobie to find the code while I stepped forward, trying to distract the monster.
I frantically searched, tossing papers and boxes aside. The monster lunged at Labrador, its long arms reaching out. Then I saw it, numbers scrawled on the wall. The first 4 digits are 1987. I ran to the terminal.
The creature roared and charged. I barely managed to dodge. Dobie typed the code. First digit, second, third. The monster was almost upon us.
On the way there, I tried to make sense of what I had just heard. A dinosaur? Was this some kind of joke? But the fear in the teacher's voice was too real for it to be a prank. When we arrived,
The day started peacefully. Dobie and I were sipping our morning coffee at the station, getting ready for our usual patrol. The streets were quiet. The citizens were going about their daily routines, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. But everything changed when the phone rang. On the other end, we heard the trembling voice of a kindergarten teacher from Happy Tales Daycare. She was gasping in terror, almost screaming. The daycare has been taken over. A giant dinosaur broke through the entrance, roaring and not letting the children out. Then, the call was abruptly cut off. Dobie and I exchanged glances. No questions asked. We jumped into our patrol car and sped off toward the daycare. Every day in our city starts differently. Sometimes it's peaceful, patrolling the streets, handling complaints, rescuing kittens from trees. And sometimes it turns into a real nightmare. Today was, without a doubt, one of the worst. I had just poured myself a cup of coffee when the radio crackled sharply, and the dispatcher's voice came through with such urgency that my morning drowsiness disappeared instantly. Something strange was happening at the Central City Hospital. Witnesses reported eerie sounds, screams, and laughter. Yes, genuine, sinister laughter echoing through the hospital speakers. As I processed this information, the door to the station burst open and Dobie rushed in. He was holding a box of donuts, but the moment he saw my face, he set it down on the table, forgetting about breakfast. I briefly explained the situation, and within minutes, we were racing toward the scene in our police car.
when we arrived, it was immediately clear. This wasn't a normal call. All the hospital windows were covered with black curtains, and on the glass of the main entrance hung a strange poster. A perfect smile is the key to life. Below the words was a terrifying grin with perfectly straight but unnaturally sharp teeth. A crowd had gathered outside. People murmured in fear, some trying to call their loved ones inside. But no one answered. The hospital seemed like a sealed-off world, one that no one could enter or leave. As soon as we approached the doors, a voice boomed from the speakers. Deep, hoarse, but with fake cheerfulness. "Welcome to the Center for the Perfect Smile, Sheriffs. We've been expecting you." Then, with a loud click, the doors groaned open.
Usually, when doors open by themselves, it's a sign you should stay away. But we had no choice. There could be injured people, hostages, or worse inside. We stepped in. Inside, an eerie silence reigned. The dim lights flickered, making it feel like we had entered an abandoned clinic. Medical posters hung everywhere, but their messages were distorted. Everyone must smile. Don't be afraid, this won't hurt. Your teeth belong to me. I took a step forward and suddenly felt something sticky under my paws. Looking down, I saw the floor covered in a substance resembling toothpaste, but with a strong chemical smell.
The hallway stretched forward, leading us deeper into the hospital. We could hear faint noises, like whispering behind the walls, but too indistinct to understand. A shiver ran down my spine. Suddenly, a man in a white coat dashed around the corner. He was gasping for breath, his eyes filled with terror. A doctor! He grabbed my arm, squeezing it so tightly that I knew he was on the edge of panic. Stop him! Stop him before it's too late! He wheezed. But before we could ask him anything, a deafening alarm blared, and the doctor convulsed as if struck by electricity. I turned just in time to see a mechanical arm extend from the wall, ending in a long, gleaming needle. It stabbed into the doctor's neck. He froze, then slowly collapsed to the floor. We stepped back. "Disobedient patients shouldn't be wandering around the hospital," the voice from the speakers sneered.
It was clear now. Everything here was automated, and one person was controlling this madness: the twisted dentist who had taken over the hospital. We moved forward, passing rooms filled with horrifying tools. In one of them, a dental chair stood surrounded by mechanical arms, each holding sharp instruments. X-rays lined the walls, but they weren't normal. Every jaw on them had elongated, pointed teeth, as if someone had deliberately altered them. Dobie muttered a curse under his breath. We needed to find the head doctor, or someone from the staff who could explain what was happening.
We reached the main hall, where a massive statue stood in the center of a tooth, a giant, gleaming human tooth, enlarged dozens of times. Its surface shone as if it were made of real enamel. Then he appeared. A loud screech echoed from the speakers, followed by an eerily cheerful voice. "Oh, finally! I've been waiting for you, sheriffs." We turned and saw a figure emerging from the shadows, tall and thin, dressed in a long white coat, yet moving with an unnerving puppet-like fluidity. His yellow-lensed glasses reflected the dim light, and his mouth stretched into an unnatural grin. "Dr. Pearl at your service? Ready for your checkup?"
I clenched my teeth and stepped forward, but suddenly the walls began to shift. The floor trembled, and the giant tooth statue started splitting open, revealing a deep, dark shaft beneath it. "You won't leave until your treatment is complete." That's when I realized it was a trap. We were standing in the center of the room, surrounded by walls that were slowly closing in.
We had little time. I spotted a control panel near the door and rushed toward it. At the last second, I managed to hack the system, and the walls stopped moving. But that was just the beginning. Dr. Pearl clapped his hands, and figures began emerging from the shaft beneath the statue. Patients, but twisted. Their mouths were frozen in wide, grotesque smiles, and in their hands they clutched massive metallic toothbrushes. We braced ourselves for the final battle.
When the patients began crawling out of the shaft, their mouths unnaturally stretched into wide grins, clutching massive metallic toothbrushes in their hands, I realized they weren't just hypnotized hostages. Their movements were jerky, mechanical, as if someone was controlling them like puppets. Dr. Pearl stood off to the side, arms crossed over his chest, watching with pleasure. The flickering lights cast his elongated shadow on the walls, making him seem even taller. Dobie and I exchanged glances. We had to come up with something fast before we were completely surrounded. I was the first to charge forward, ducking under the massive toothbrush swung by one of the patients. He smashed it into the floor, shattering it into pieces, but immediately, as if on command, two more lunged at me, aiming their strange weapons at my head.
I knew Pearl was controlling them, but how? We needed to find the source of the signal. I blocked a toothbrush strike, kicking the nearest patient's arm. He flinched but kept moving, as if he couldn't feel pain. Then I noticed it. Each of them had a small metallic box embedded in the skin at the back of their necks. I understood. These were control devices. Labrador was fighting off 3 at once, while I jumped at the closest patient and ripped the box from his neck. A strange crackling noise sounded, and he instantly collapsed to the floor like a broken toy. "They're connected to a system!" I shouted. "We have to disable the main transmitter!" Dr. Pearl laughed, his teeth gleaming under the flickering lights.
I knocked one of the patients aside and quickly scanned the room. There had to be a control center somewhere in this hall. That's when I noticed a metallic panel on the wall, standing out among the hospital's old-fashioned decor. Without hesitation, I yanked out my baton and hurled it straight at the panel. A loud screech followed, sparks flying in all directions. For a second, the patients froze, but then they started moving again. The transmitter had to be somewhere else. Pearl sighed and took a step forward. "What a disappointment, sheriffs. I thought you were smarter."
And then I saw it. Under his lab coat, something faintly glowed on his chest. A barely noticeable green light. I remembered how old radio transmitters worked. Sometimes, to distribute a signal across an entire system, the host had to be at the center of it. That could only mean one thing. Pearl himself was the main transmitter. I signaled Labrador and pretended to attack from the front. Pearl smirked, but in that moment, Labrador lunged from the side, pulled out a taser, and pressed it directly to the evil dentist's chest. Electricity surged through his body, and he convulsed like a mannequin on broken springs. At that moment, all the patients around us froze, then slowly began to collapse to the floor. Their hands no longer gripped the oversized toothbrushes, and their faces, now free of those grotesque smiles, showed only exhaustion and confusion.
Dr. Pearl fell to his knees, his pristine lab coat now crumpled and stained. You don't understand? He gasped, his voice suddenly uncertain. I grabbed him by the collar. We understand just fine. You wanted to turn everyone into your test subjects, but your hospital is closed for good.
As we cuffed him, the hospital doors finally unlocked and our colleagues stormed inside. Doctors and patients began to regain consciousness, slowly realizing what had happened. I glanced at the giant tooth statue. It now looked utterly ridiculous. You know, I said to Labrador, after this, I definitely won't be visiting the dentist anytime soon. He chuckled. Just don't forget to brush your teeth. We escorted Pearl outside. The setting sun painted the sky in dark hues. It was over. Another insane case, closed. But just as we got into the car, the radio crackled to life. A new call. Labrador glanced at me, sighed, and started the engine. Hi, friends. Today we're going to try to escape from an evil dog in Roblox. It's right behind us, but it seems to be sleeping. So for now, we're safe.
Hi, everyone. Not only do we have challenges ahead, but also boss battles. By the way, if you know the name of this dog, let us know in the comments.
Sheriff Labrador, what if we jump on her belly?
Let's do it, but be ready in case she wakes up, don't worry.
I think she's stuffed and watched TV all night.
Yeah, looks like we need to crawl through the vents. But there's parkour ahead. Good thing I did that back in school.
Oh no, you accidentally broke her mom's vase. Looks like she's sleeping soundly. Hope she won't notice when she wakes up.
Let's quickly pass through and slip away. Oh, here's a huge room. See those metal platforms? We need to press a button.
I wonder why this dog created all these challenges. I don't think she could handle them herself, although they could be useful for maintaining health.
Wow, it's a rope bridge. I used to ride one of those when I was a kid. Maybe she built all these obstacles so no one could disturb her sleep. But here we are, trying to escape from her. Strange that she kidnapped us. Look, she has a family. Why can't we see them? And who's the guy in the picture on the left? Looks like Tom's friend.
I have a theory. We've entered a world of talking animals. Maybe this is hell because no one wants to be forced to talk, especially about things they don't want to.
Probably. She built all these trials to avoid the fate of endless conversations. Now we need to find the others and figure out why we were kidnapped.
Maybe they kidnapped us so we'd replace them in conversations and they could be free? Or maybe they feed on other animals and that gives them the ability to talk. Or maybe they're just a little crazy. We need to focus on getting out of here and figuring out what's going on.
We need to crawl through the vents. It's the way to the next location. Hopefully we'll meet some new characters.
Look, it's Talking Tom!
Oh, he fell!
Get ready to run.
I don't think he has good intentions. Have you ever seen Tom with red eyes? He looks like he's ready to crush us like pancakes. Looks like he's about to start shooting lasers.
What if he can do more than just talk? We'll need superpowers to apprehend the suspects.
Why is he hiding around the corner? Did he think we couldn't see him?
Maybe he's a little dumb or just sleepy and disoriented.
He has funny little teeth like a baby. You know, he even seems a little cute to me.
Oh, looks like you like all of this. Hope you don't start turning into one of them. Are you in a trance or something?
I don't know. Hope I'm not getting absorbed by this atmosphere. If something happens, let me know.
Of course, let's go through the vent. We've already dealt with Tom. Let's see who's ahead. Looks like a kid's room.
Maybe it's Ben's room?
You're right, it's a girl. I wonder what her name is and if she's facing the same problem as Ben.
While you were talking, we're already in her paws. Why did we get teleported back? I don't think she's as evil as Tom.
I think so too. If she wanted to bite us, she would have gotten out through the bars. There are huge gaps in them.
Oh, her name is Lily. Strange that there's no room for her brother. Why are they separated like that? Let us know in the comments if you have a brother or sister and live in the same room.
What if something happened to her brother? Maybe that's why everyone went crazy and thinks we killed him.
Dobie, you're daydreaming again. It's distracting us from our main goal. I don't think it's as scary as you think.
We're in the central ventilation system that provides oxygen to the entire complex. I wonder what we can leave as a souvenir here.
It was an ordinary night when Dobie and I were patrolling the city of animals. Nothing unusual until a strange light appeared in the sky. It was pulsing, changing colors, and moving like it was alive. I immediately realized it wasn't a meteor or a regular drone. We decided to approach it. When we got to the deserted park, the light grew brighter and descended right in front of us. We stopped, turned on the sirens, and began observing. And then, from that light, dogs began to emerge.
I thought it was some kind of illusion, but no, these dogs looked nothing like us. They were large, with bright, almost glowing eyes. Some of them wore metal collars, which were clearly more than just decorations. I felt something stir inside me. It was like encountering something completely different. They approached us confidently, as if they knew exactly what they were doing.
They didn't look like ordinary dogs. Their behavior was calm but determined, and their eyes held such confidence that it was immediately clear they weren't random visitors. One of the dogs, who seemed to be the leader, stepped forward and stood on its hind legs. It looked at us, and we realized that it wasn't just trying to scare us, it was trying to communicate. It began explaining that they came from another world, where everything is the opposite. There, dogs are the rulers, and humans are the pets.
I couldn't believe my ears. It felt like something out of a science fiction movie. These dogs claimed that their civilization was much older and more advanced than ours. They traveled between worlds, and now that they had found ours, they wanted to propose an exchange. We, the dogs, should become pets in their world, and they would become the masters in ours. And to do this, they were willing to use their technology to move us there.
I was stunned. We, the dogs, would become pets, and these creatures, strange as it sounded, would take our place. But their confidence in this proposal was so strong that there was no point in doubting. They said their world was one of harmony and order, where dogs rule and humans serve as pets. I felt that this wasn't just a random appearance of aliens. It was a proposal that could change everything.
I kept trying to wrap my head around what they were offering us. Exchange. It wasn't just a word. It meant that our world would change forever. We could try living on the other side, in their world, where dogs were rulers and humans were our pets. We could experience a life we'd never known and see how everything worked there. But I also realized that if we agreed, we would never return.
We were faced with this choice: exchange worlds, become pets in another world, or stay in ours. But knowing that would mark the end of ordinary life. I didn't know what to do, but in their eyes, I saw sincerity. This was more than just an offer. It was an opportunity. We could change not just our lives, but also understand what it meant to be part of another reality.
When they offered to use their technology to travel between worlds, I felt my heart race. It seemed unbelievable, but the thought that we could become part of their world was inevitable. Dogs ruling humans. Life in another world. I didn't know what awaited us, but I was sure of one thing. From this moment on, everything would change.
The day Dobie and I received the call, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. We were patrolling the streets of Animal Town, as usual, when our radar beeped. It was an emergency call, and when we heard what was happening, I felt my heart race. Something terrible was approaching. An evil scientist, known for his bizarre inventions, was threatening to launch a machine that could turn rain into a shower of sweet candy. It seemed harmless. What could be wrong with candy rain? But we knew the consequences could be catastrophic.
As soon as we heard about the scientist's plan, we knew exactly what was at stake. Candy rain wasn't just a fun prank. Sheriff and I knew that too much sugar was a serious threat. If this rain actually fell, all the kids would get toothaches. But it wasn't just that. We all know how hard it is to control the urge to eat a candy. What if there were too many of them? It could lead to severe dental issues and even health problems. We had to act fast.
We sped through the city, and with each passing kilometer, the sense of urgency grew. The scientist, as always, couldn't just leave people alone. He was insanely confident in his plan and didn't think about the consequences. In his lab, a massive machine was already prepared to launch the candy rain.
When we got to the location, everything was ready. The scientist was standing by his machine, surrounded by a tangle of wires and mechanisms that clearly didn't look safe. We immediately realized that time was running out. The machine had already started launching the first candies into the air. They were falling with great speed, like rain, but instead of water, it was caramel, chocolate.
Well, here we are. Behind this door, we've got the map's final boss waiting for us, and it looks like we were wrong. This isn't just any boss. It's a giant robot named Ben. Let's try shooting him right in the teeth. I'm aiming for his legs. Maybe that's his weak spot and he'll fall.
Wow! Ben turned out to be a real coward. Instead of fighting, he just built a giant robot.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he were sitting in a chair right now, sipping coffee and watching a movie. I hope it's not alcohol, though.
And he's probably watching football while we're attacking him. This is so unfair. When we got to the location, everything was ready. The scientist was standing by his machine, surrounded by a tangle of wires and mechanisms that clearly didn't look safe. We immediately realized that time was running out. The machine had already started launching the first candies into the air. They were falling with great speed, like rain, but instead of water, it was caramel, chocolate, and lollipops. I quickly assessed the situation. If we didn't intervene, tomorrow all the kids would be in trouble. As soon as we turned off the machine, the sweet rain stopped.
Wow, we won! Don't forget to congratulate us in the comments, but it's time to leave this crazy world of talking animals.
Well, I guess it's time to say goodbye. Hope you enjoyed our escape from the talking animals.
Yeah, don't forget to leave comments, like, and subscribe to the channel. It means a lot to us. Also, check out our other videos and let us know what you'd like to see next. Time to move on. Let's go to new adventures. Wait, what's going on over there? I hope that's not a giant ginger robot. Or Angela. Bye. Hi, friends. As you can see, we're at school, which means today we have to escape from Mr. Stinky.
Hello, everyone. But first, we need to get out of the classroom. Crazy Mr. Stinky put our picture on the board and wrote that we're newbies. We need to prove him wrong.
Of course we will. We are real sheriffs. Let's activate the fire alarm and escape before anyone notices.
Sheriff Labrador, difficult trials await us ahead. We need to save our strength for the final boss battle.
Oh, it seems he was nearby all this time. Stealth is not an option. Let's run!
He's looking at us with such a scary smile, he's about to catch up. We need to speed up.
What a huge belly he has. Is he really asleep? Maybe he just wants to scare us or play. Perhaps he's curious about how we'll handle his trials.
Haha, why did he fall asleep? Well, better not to risk it.
Someone tried to escape and stepped into this strange green liquid. I hope it's not acid. Let's climb into the vent. Hold your breath so you don't choke on the dust.
Now we'll jump through the parkour. You're a pro at this, so I'm sure we'll pass without mistakes. Looks like he's awake. Hope he doesn't attack now.
Look how creepy this looks. Why did he drill a hole in the wall to spy on us instead of installing a camera?
Brr, very creepy. Maybe he thinks this will scare us and we won't be able to continue.
Such things don't scare us. We face scarier things. We need to ignore him and focus on the goal. How do we open the gates?
Maybe these two buttons will open them. The question is, do we need to press them simultaneously or separately?
It will be unfair if the door only opens together. We'll find out soon when we press the second button.
How much money and time was spent on creating all these trials? He's really crazy. Why does he need all this? To watch kids cry?
Great. The door opened. I think he spent about $1 million in 10 years on all this. But we haven't seen the other trials yet, and they are probably more difficult. Oh, this trial looks familiar. Maybe he wants to learn our weaknesses for the final battle.
Now we need to focus on not getting hit by the laser. I don't understand how lasers can disintegrate things. I've only seen those used to play with cats.
There are powerful lasers used in material processing. Their power allows cutting through various objects.
Got it, thanks. Look, this guy is offering to take a secret path. Should we trust him?
If it's a trap, they'll just kill us and we'll respawn. Plus, I'm curious to see what's there.
It's a giant hanging platform. Maybe there will be a boss battle. Why did this guy say it's a secret path?
All we can do is press the red button. Okay, the button summoned the boss. He looks like Mr. Stinky, but with pipe legs and a large gear. Maybe Mr. Stinky likes steampunk and made a robotic copy of himself.
Considering the technology, it's possible. But Mr. Stinky is too old to master such technology. Although, given his madness, anything can be expected from him.
He has almost no health left. The main thing is not to get too close so he doesn't hit us with his hat.
Oh, that was exhausting. He's too strong or we have too weak weapons.
All right, what's next? We defeated him and we got nothing. What nonsense. Maybe they'll at least leave us the weapons. Oh, I accidentally jumped. No big deal, we'll respawn. This guy just tricked us. He probably wanted to laugh, but something went wrong. Did you notice that these books have spikes? It's dangerous.
And those spiked balls, they look like viruses. I hope we didn't get sick.
We almost ran into a spiked mace. Oh no, it's yellow-toothed Larissa. Grab your weapon and shoot her in the eye. She looks like Mrs. Stinky because she has terrible breath.
I hope she at least takes a shower. She has horrible makeup and a wart on her face. Now it's clear. Mr. and Mrs. Stinky are dating. Interesting.
Hooray! The second boss is defeated. Dobie and I were patrolling the town when we received a distress call. Professor Tailstein, a well-known scientist and inventor, had created cyborgs meant to assist the townsfolk in their daily tasks. But it soon became clear that something had gone wrong. Instead of helping, the cyborgs began to act aggressively. Dobie and I realized we couldn't ignore this. Tailstein always had strange ideas, but we never expected something like this.
Yeah, at first everything seemed like just another normal project. The cyborgs were helping with cleaning, delivering goods, ensuring safety. But soon reports came in that the robots were breaking equipment, scaring people, and in some areas, even attacking residents. Sheriff and I immediately realized something wasn't right. These machines were too smart for simple tasks, and it seemed like they were starting to plan something. We went to the professor to figure out what had happened.
When we arrived at the professor's place, he was in a panic. He claimed that his program was supposed to work as intended, and that the robots couldn't have gone out of control. He said he didn't understand how it happened, but his invention was clearly no ordinary one. We inspected the lab and quickly realized that something wasn't right. We started suspecting that someone might have interfered with the system and introduced a virus that altered the behavior of these robots. Time was running out and we needed to act fast.
The professor told us that the central control module, which controlled all the cyborgs, was located in an underground lab. It was a secured area, and getting in wouldn't be easy. But Sheriff and I knew that without accessing it, we wouldn't be able to stop the cyborgs. We began planning how to break into the lab, knowing that many dangers awaited us along the way. If we didn't succeed, the town would be destroyed.
We entered the lab and immediately faced our first obstacle. A few cyborgs were patrolling the corridors. We tried to move quietly, but one of the robots spotted us and activated the alarm. More cyborgs appeared right away and started moving toward us. We had to act fast. Dobie and I fought back in sync, but every step was getting harder. The cyborgs weren't backing down.
As soon as we passed the first corridor, we realized our task was only getting more difficult. New patrols were waiting for us at every corner, and if we weren't careful, we'd be spotted. I suggested using some devices to temporarily disable their sensors. We managed to pull it off, but time was running out, and we knew that every second counted. We kept moving toward the main hall, where the module we needed to disable was located.
When we reached the central hall, we were met with a real cyber barrier. Several cyborgs surrounded the control module, guarding it. It was a full-on battle, but we knew we couldn't lose. We attacked from different sides, but one of the robots triggered the defense system. At that moment, we had to act quickly. While they blocked the entrance, I searched for a way to disable all their signals. In our town of animals, there's nothing scarier than a school night. It all began when we received a strange call. In the school where the youngest residents study, all the lights went out. At first, it seemed like a simple power outage, but as soon as Dobie and I arrived, we knew something was wrong. The darkness in the corridors was so thick that we could barely make out the path. There were no students to be found, but strange sounds echoed as if someone was wandering the dark halls.
Sheriff and I decided to investigate the school. As we walked through the first floors, we noticed strange marks on the walls, as if someone had been hiding or running in a hurry. We made our way to the old basement, a place no one usually ventured into. The school was quite old, and the basement had always been surrounded by rumors. They said that many years ago, mysterious experiments were conducted down there. At that moment, Sheriff and I began to feel an unsettling sense of anxiety building up. We moved forward, trying to locate the source of the strange sounds.
When we descended into the basement, the air was heavy, and the darkness felt almost alive. We discovered an old, dusty mirror that had once stood in one of the classrooms. It was covered in grime, but when we cleaned it, something strange reflected back at us. It wasn't our reflections, but silhouettes that resembled students, with empty eyes. We quickly backed away from the mirror, and at that moment, we heard the basement doors creak open. We turned around and saw a shadow begin to move down the corridor.
We rushed toward the exit, but the doors were locked. It was at that moment moment that we realized this wasn't just a security system malfunction. The shadows were moving faster, and there were more of them. We tried to find another way out, but every corridor led us back to the basement. Suddenly, one of the shadows began speaking in our voices. That's when we understood. This wasn't a coincidence. Someone or something had brought this place to life.
Dobie and I desperately tried to escape, but the more we moved, the more creaking footsteps we heard behind us. We decided to use some old school equipment to disable the electrical systems. As soon as we did, the shadows started to disappear, and silence returned. Once we were outside, we realized this wasn't just a malfunction. We had saved the town, but the dark forces in the school were still lingering.
When we told the townspeople the story, many started looking at the school with suspicion. But despite everything, the shadows had vanished, and in that moment, we understood sometimes even the darkest corner can be a hidden test for those who are brave enough to face what they don't understand. Sheriff and I returned to work, but that evening, when night fell, neither of us could bring ourselves to go back. We knew this school wasn't just a building, it was a place where dark secrets hide.
Well, friends, we did it! We conquered that evil teacher! I, Labrador, want to thank you for joining us on this adventure. Remember, with us, you can chase down any problem and beat it.
See you, friends. We're always